This is a Symetrix A-220 rack mount power amp. I picked this up off eBay for next to nothing. I think it was $10 buy it now. Shipping was $15. Rough condition, is missing all the top cover screws. I'm assuming it doesn't work. In fact, I had a look inside and there's one of the main filter caps just chilling in the enclosure. It fell completely off the board. This is a little 20 watt per channel amp that uses a STK4151 output IC. It's a very simple circuit. No reason I can't fix this. In order to get this main board out of here, I've got to remove the faceplate, which doesn't seem to be too difficult. And I'll take care of that, get that cap soldered back in, and we'll give this a quick test. Well, it took me a minute to get this board out of here because I had to figure out how to release those XLR jacks out of the metal housings that are riveted in place in the back of the amp. There's 4 holes in the back of these plugs, and the smaller hole in the middle is where you can put a little flat blade screwdriver in there, turn it slightly, and it will release this little locking tab that holds it into the metal housing, and then it just slides right out. So I've never had to work on those kind of plugs before, but I guess you learn something new every day. But now that I've got this board out, I've just got to inspect the solder joints, reattach that filter cap, and I'm going to plop it back in here for a quick test and see how it is electrically. I don't know what kind of work is going to need to be done to it. Hopefully not much. Another thing that's always a good idea to check when you're buying used equipment like this is the fuse. Now, when I was putting this back together, I noticed that the fuse holder was cracked, so I pulled this out and had a look. And sure enough, somebody had put a 10 amp fuse in there when it's only supposed to have a 1 amp. So I've definitely got to find the proper fuse before I try to power this back up. And I'm only wondering why they would have done that. Something's probably shorted out in this and was blowing the fuse, but I guess we'll see. Alright, I've got the board back in there temporarily. I haven't bothered installing the heatsink since I might have to take it back out. And I'm only going to run it for a second anyway. I've got a 40 watt light bulb in series with the AC for safety. In case there's any shorts, I don't want to damage the transformer. But let's see what this thing will do. Well, it's got power. Next thing I'm going to do is check for any DC offset at the speaker terminals. I got to get my speaker leads hooked up for that. Not too bad on channel 1. Got 53 millivolts of offset. Probably about typical for a cheap IC like that. Let's check the other channel here. That one looks a little better, even 20 millivolts. This IC might be bad, but I'm still going to go ahead and hook the speakers up and see how it sounds. Well, it works. It's kind of neat that it's got a switch on here that you can push to have the volume controls be both operated off this one or have them be independent. But the volume control is a bit uneven. In fact, the left channel goes completely out when you turn it down really low.
Zombies?
Well, it's working good enough for now. Be a nice little bench amp anyway. Maybe someday I'll recap it and look into the IC, but I'm not too picky about this one. But I was looking through some of the date codes in here, and this looks to be built in about 1992. So that gives you an idea how old this thing is. Boy, hard to believe the 90s are old already, huh? 90s are like the new 80s. All I got to do now is, for one, find the screw that I dropped that goes here and get some cover screws, but I think they're just regular 632 type screws like what a computer hard drive would use, so I should have a whole drawer full of those. I can get this all put back together, no problem. Yeah, it's got some pretty good capacitor reserve in it. also one of the few IC based amps that I've seen with a bridging switch on it. And it's got a headphone jack that come in handy. Unfortunately, I don't think it cuts out the speakers when you plug the headphones in, so it's just like that BGW amp over there. In fact, this amp was one of the first ones I was looking at for my bench amp before I found that BGW, but I definitely like the BGW a lot better.